That feeling when you're planning a trip is just amazing, right? But one little health hiccup can totally derail the whole adventure. So today, we're going to unpack the must-know travel health guide, straight from the World Health Organization. It doesn't matter if you've been all over the globe or if this is your first big trip, these tips are going to help make sure your trip is unforgettable for all the right reasons.
Okay, so you've got the tickets booked, you've found the perfect place to stay, but what about your health checklist? I know, it's so easy to overlook, but honestly, it might be the most important part of your prep. So let's make sure you're ready for anything.
We're going to break this down into 3 super simple stages. First, the prep work you do before you even leave. Second, how to stay healthy during the flight itself. And third, how to really thrive once you get there. Let's kick things off with the preparation.
All right, first up, the prep. Because a truly great healthy trip doesn't start at the airport. Nope. It starts weeks, maybe even months before you ever pack your bags.
Think of this as your game plan. Chatting with your doctor is a non-negotiable, especially if you've got any pre-existing conditions. And please, take travel insurance seriously. It's not just a nice-to-have anymore. Some countries will actually ask for proof of coverage before they let you in. And here's a pro tip. For any prescriptions, don't just throw the bottle in your bag. Get a signed letter from your doctor. Trust me, it can save you a world of headaches at customs.
Now, building the perfect medical kit isn't about being paranoid. It's just about being smart. I like to think of it in 2 parts. First, you've got the stuff for common annoyances, right? Like antidiarrheal meds. Then you add in your destination-specific gear. Headed somewhere the water's a bit sketchy? Those disinfectant tablets are your best friend. Going to a malaria zone? That treated mosquito net is absolutely essential.
Okay, you're all packed and prepped. Awesome. Now for the journey itself. Surviving the skies is really all about understanding what flying at 36,000 feet actually does to your body. It's kind of fascinating.
You ever wonder why you just feel a bit off on a plane? Well, here's why. The air pressure in the cabin is set to be like you're on a mountain at about 8,000 feet, so there's a little less oxygen. But the weird part? Because the pressure around you is lower, the gases inside your body, in your stomach, your sinuses, your ears, they actually expand.
And that expansion of gas, well, it leads to that super common, super annoying feeling you get in your ears, especially when the plane starts to descend. It can feel blocked, even a little painful sometimes. But the good news is, there's a really simple fix that pilots and divers use all the time. It's called the Valsalva maneuver. Sounds fancy, but it's so easy. Just follow these 3 steps. Pinch your nose shut, close your mouth, and then gently, and I mean gently, try to blow air out through your nose. You'll feel a little pop, and just like that, the pressure is equalized. Of course, the simple stuff like chewing gum, swallowing, or even just yawning during descent can work wonders too. All right, let's talk about something a bit more serious, especially for those long-haul flights, DVT. In plain English, it's a blood clot that can form in a deep vein, usually in your legs, basically because you've been sitting still for a long time. Now, a lot of these clots are small and don't cause problems, but the risk is that one could break off and travel to your lungs, and that is a real medical emergency.
So the most important thing is just to know your risk factors. Things like a history of clots, being pregnant, having recent surgery, or using estrogen therapy can all raise your risk. If any of these apply to you and you've got a flight that's longer than 4 hours, having a quick chat with your doctor beforehand is just a really smart move. So, what's the secret weapon against DVT? You don't need any special gadgets. The single best thing you can do to prevent it is also the simplest. Move. Just get up. Walk down the aisle when you can. Do some little calf stretches in your seat. Anything to keep that blood flowing.
And you've made it. Welcome to Part 3, How to Thrive Once You're There. This is all about navigating your new environment and just making smart choices to stay healthy while you're having an amazing time. First up, a risk that is so easy to underestimate: the sun. Look, depending on where you travel, especially if you're close to the equator or at a high altitude, that UV radiation can be way more intense than what you're used to. It's a serious risk for sunburn and, of course, long-term skin damage.
The advice here is pretty straightforward, but it really works. Try to stay out of the direct sun when it's at its strongest, which is usually between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Cover up with clothes, a good hat, and some UV-blocking shades. And for any skin that is showing, slather on that broad-spectrum sunscreen, at least SPF 15, and don't be shy about reapplying it.
Okay, next up is a big one. Let's be real, contaminated food and water are probably the #1 reason travelers get sick. But with just a little bit of know-how, you can seriously cut down your risk.
This chart right here is your new best friend. The general rule is simple. Boil it, cook it, peel it, or forget it. Stay away from tap water, and yeah, that means the ice cubes in your drink too. Stick to drinks in sealed bottles. Be a little suspicious of raw or undercooked stuff. Instead, go for food that's served steaming hot and fruit that you can peel yourself.
And hey, if you are ever in doubt about the water situation, just remember this piece of advice directly from the WHO. Bringing water to a good rolling boil for just 1 minute is the single most effective way to purify it. It's simple, it's low-tech, and it absolutely works.
Another potential risk, especially if you're in more rural areas, is animals. Now, they might look cute, but stray or wild animals can carry some pretty serious diseases, and there's one in particular we really need to be concerned about.
The main danger here is rabies, which is almost 100% fatal if it's not treated right away. So, if you are bitten or even just scratched by an animal, the first aid step is critical. You need to wash that wound out thoroughly with soap and water for several minutes, and then get to a doctor or a clinic immediately. This is not something you wait and see on.
Take a look at this number, 1.3 million. Any idea what that represents? That is the estimated number of people killed in road traffic accidents around the world every single year.
And that brings us to what is, statistically, one of the biggest dangers for travelers, and one we almost never think about. Traffic laws, the condition of the roads, even just the way people drive can be completely different from what you're used to at home. So whether you're behind the wheel, in a taxi, or just walking across the street, you have to be paying attention. I mean, hyper-vigilant.
You know, when it's all said and done, it really comes down to this. You can have your passport, your visa, all your tickets, but your health is, without a doubt, the most important travel document you have. Taking a little time to prepare and be aware doesn't hold you back from adventure. It's what makes adventure possible. So, the only question left is, are you prepared for your next one?